They say one look into her eyes, and your blood turns cold. Your limbs freeze. Your heart stops beating. In seconds, flesh becomes stone. Forever. This is the curse of Medusa. A woman whose beauty was so dangerous the gods themselves had to destroy her. But she wasn't always a monster. She was once innocent, once human, once the most beautiful priestess in all of Greece. Her name was Medusa, and this is her story. A tale of beauty, betrayal, and a curse that would echo through eternity. A story that begins not in darkness, but in light. Today she dwells in shadows, surrounded by the stone faces of warriors who dared to hunt her. Each statue a reminder of her terrible power. But how did she become this creature? To understand, we must journey back to where it all began. High above the Aegean Sea, on cliffs kissed by golden sunlight, stood the magnificent temple of Athena, goddess of wisdom, warfare, and civilization. It was here, in service to the divine, that Medusa lived her life. Devoted, pure, and utterly beautiful. As a priestess of Athena, Medusa had taken sacred vows, vows of chastity, vows of devotion. She served the goddess with all her heart, never knowing that these very vows would seal her fate. But Medusa possessed something dangerous, something that would attract the attention of the gods themselves. Her beauty was legendary. Men traveled from distant lands just to glimpse her face. Poets wrote verses about her eyes, and the gods were watching. This is Chapter 1, The Curse, the story of how beauty became a weapon and innocence became a nightmare. Long before the curse, Medusa was radiant, a young priestess devoted to Athena, goddess of wisdom. She wore the sacred white robes with pride, her beauty already becoming legendary across the Greek world. Every day she performed the sacred rituals, lighting the holy flames, making offerings to the goddess. Her devotion was absolute, her faith unshakable. She believed the temple was the safest place in all of Greece. The temple of Athena stood magnificent on the cliffs. Inside, the towering statue of the goddess watched over her priestesses. Medusa prayed here daily, never imagining that Athena's gaze would one day turn cold. She wasn't alone. Other priestesses served alongside her. They were sisters in devotion, bound by sacred vows. But even among them, Medusa's beauty stood apart. And beauty, whispering in the world of gods, can be dangerous. Far across the sea, Poseidon, god of the oceans, had been watching. The god of storms and earthquakes. The god who took what he wanted. And he wanted Medusa. One night, Medusa prayed alone in the temple. She felt something, a presence, a darkness approaching. She prayed harder, seeking Athena's protection. But the gods play by their own rules. Storm clouds gathered over the temple. Lightning split the sky. The sacred space, meant to be a sanctuary, was about to become a prison. Poseidon was coming, and no mortal could stop him. His trident glowed with divine power, the weapon that commanded the seas, that shook the earth. Poseidon entered Athena's temple, violating the most sacred law of the gods. Medusa backed away in terror. She called out to Athena. She begged for protection. But the goddess did not answer, and Poseidon showed no mercy. The temple floor cracked beneath divine fury. The sacred flames flickered and died. And Athena's statue simply watched, silent, judging. The goddess saw everything and did nothing to stop it. When it was over, Medusa lay broken on the cold marble floor, her white robes torn, her innocence shattered. She had been violated in the very temple she served, and the worst was yet to come. This is Chapter 2, The Beauty. The story of how innocence was destroyed, and how the victim would become the monster. Medusa crawled to Athena's feet, whispering, begging for mercy. She had been the victim. She had done nothing wrong. Surely the goddess would understand. Surely she would be protected. But Athena's eyes burned with cold fury. Not at Poseidon, at Medusa. The goddess saw only violation of her sacred temple, and in her twisted logic, Medusa must be punished. The curse began with a whisper. Medusa felt her hands burning with unnatural energy. Green light wrapped around her fingers. She tried to scream, but no sound came. The transformation had begun. Pain. Unimaginable pain. Her body convulsed as divine magic tore through her. She screamed for mercy. She screamed for help. But the goddess showed none. The punishment had only just started. Her beautiful hair, her pride, began to move. Each strand twisted and writhed. Scales appeared. Eyes opened. Her hair was becoming serpents. Living serpents. Her face changing, her smooth skin hardening into scales, her features twisting. She was becoming something else. Ooh, something monstrous. The beautiful priestess was dying, and a monster was being born. Then came the eyes. Her emerald eyes glowed with supernatural power. The curse's final gift. Anyone who looked into those eyes would turn to stone. Forever. When the transformation ended, Medusa stood, but she was no longer human. Serpents crowned her head. Scales covered her skin. She had become the monster Athena wanted her to be. She found a mirror and saw her reflection. The scream that followed echoed through the temple. Her beauty, her identity, everything she was. Gone. Replaced by this thing. The other priestesses fled in terror. Her sisters, her friends. They ran from her as if she were a demon, and perhaps she was. Athena had made sure of that. Medusa had no choice. She fled into the night, exiled, alone, cursed. The victim had become the monster, and her long, dark journey was only beginning. This is Chapter 3, The Curse. The story of how a goddess's cruelty created the most feared monster in all of Greek mythology. Medusa wandered through the dark forests, hunted by her own curse. Every step took her further from humanity, further from hope. She was alone in a world that now feared her. She found refuge in an abandoned temple hidden deep in the wilderness, a place forgotten by gods and men. Here, in the shadows, she could hide from the world that had rejected her. Night after night she wept. Not for her lost beauty, but for her lost humanity. For the life stolen from her. For the justice that never came. The temple walls told stories of heroes and gods, of glory and honor. But for Medusa, there were no heroes, only cruelty, only abandonment. She discovered the true horror of her curse. animals that wandered too close turned to stone. Birds frozen mid-flight. Even nature itself feared her gaze. Sometimes travelers lost their way. They stumbled into her forest. She tried to hide, tried to warn them. But they always looked. They always came closer. And when they saw her eyes, it was too late. Stone, forever. She didn't want to kill, but the curse gave her no choice. Each statue, another piece of her soul, lost. Her temple became a graveyard of stone, a monument to her curse, to her isolation, to the cruelty of the gods who had created this monster. She stared at the stars, remembering when she was human, when she had dreams, when she had a future. Now, she had only darkness, only this curse. A single tear fell. The last remnant of the girl she used to be, the priestess who believed in justice, in protection, in the gods. How wrong she had been. Dawn came, as it always did, but for Medusa there was no new beginning. Only another day of exile, another day of being the monster they made her. This is Chapter 4, Exile. The story of a victim forced to live as a monster, alone, feared, and waiting for the hero who would end her suffering. Far from Medusa's exile, a hero was born, Perseus, son of Zeus, destined for greatness. The gods had a mission for him, a test. Kill the Gorgon, bring back her head. Athena herself appeared to him. The goddess who had cursed Medusa now armed her killer. She gave Perseus a polished shield. Hermes gave him winged sandals and a sword sharp enough to cut through anything. Perseus flew across the night sky, toward the cursed temple. He didn't know Medusa's story. He didn't know she was a victim. To him, she was just a monster, a trophy, glory waiting to be claimed. He arrived at the Temple of Stone. Statues of warriors surrounded him. Men who had tried before, men who had failed. But Perseus was different. He had the gods on his side. He moved carefully, whispering, walking backward, using his shield as a mirror, never looking directly at her. The perfect strategy. The perfect trap. Medusa never stood a chance. She sensed him. Her serpents hissed in warning. She had lived in fear for so long, and now the end had come. The hero, the one sent to finish what the gods had started. Perseus raised his sword. In the reflection of his shield, he saw her face, not a monster, but a woman, cursed, alone, afraid. But it was too late for mercy. The blade fell. This is Chapter 5. Perseus, the hero who killed the monster, but never knew she was the victim all along. Perseus returned home victorious, a hero, the slayer of monsters. He held Medusa's head high and the crowds cheered, but her power didn't die with her. Even in death, her gaze could still turn men to stone. She became a weapon, a trophy, a legend. For thousands of years, artists painted her. Sculptors carved her face. Ancient Greeks put her on shields and temples. Renaissance masters captured her final moment. She became immortal, not as a victim, but as a symbol, a warning, a monster. But today we see her differently, not as a monster, but as a survivor. A woman punished for being a victim. Her serpents? Not a curse, but a crown. Her rage? Justified. Medusa has become a symbol of female strength, of survival, of fighting back. This is the complete story of Medusa, from priestess to monster, from victim to legend. Her story was written by the gods, but her legacy? That belongs to us. And we choose to remember her, not as the monster they made her, but as the woman she was.